There we go.
All right. Check, check, microphone check. Everybody hear me good?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Shabbat shalom, everybody. All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
shalom.
Thank you. Thank
Shabbat shalom.
All right, all right. So we're gonna continue in a series. We're looking at Genesis 32. Now we already went through 31, and we saw some interesting things about what Jacob had to go through. Can somebody give us just a quick recap of what's going on in 31 as we lead into chapter 32?
I can do a little bit of it. Let's see. So we're picking up previously on Days of Our Lives. Um what was it? Yaakov has now gathered his payment for his 20 years of service, 14 to get his wives and 6 more for his wages. And he's now heading back to his house. But as we'll read, he's coming up and he's got to travel, through a land of an old rival and an unfortunate family member as well.
Yeah. Cue the ominous music, right? All right. So exactly what the brother said, right? So to this point, Yaakov has been going through it, you know, up and down with his women, his father-in-law. Not so much from the children yet, right? So now it's the next journey. All right. Hence the title, the perilous journey. All right. So I'm gonna designate, let's see, 2 readers for today. Let's see if I can get some volunteers. If not, I'll just go ahead and pick some people.
I can rotate in as a third.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's see. I'm gonna get my brother Kane. You help me out, bro? Yeah.
All right, I got you.
I appreciate all the steam, bro. All right, let's jump right into it, right?
All right.
Get that next slide, bro. Oh, yeah, little faith.
Part 1. And you got your question, right?
Man, we're gonna go straight into the verse. Let's get straight
Okay.
to it. Yep.
All
All
right,
right,
so
Genesis 32 and 1 through 4. Let's get it.
okay, I'm gonna be reading out of the KJV.
Okay.
All right, Genesis 32, chapter 1 through 4. And Yaakov went on his way, and the angels and God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's host." And he called the name of that place Manhanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau, I'm sorry. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now."
Okay. All right. So as we see, Jacob and his family returned to his land, right? Along the way, scripture says that Yah met him, right? And then and Jacob said something that was interesting to me. He said, "This is Yah's host." So in this context, what does host mean? What are we looking at? Just for the novice people who don't understand what it means when they see the word host in there.
It means angel, or it
Okay.
can be angel. It can mean other things, but most times it's referred to an angel or even a group of angels.
Okay. Anybody else?
Could it mean army?
Okay. Okay. So let's look up Strong's H4264. And let me get somebody to break down that definition of what host is telling us. In the interlinear, it says camp. So that's very interesting that it says camp in the interlinear.
H264? H4264?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. H2464 Mahane. Let me see if they say
Mhm.
this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mahane or Mahane. Yeah,
Okay.
the outline biblical usage, encampment, camp, camp, placement of encampment, camp of armed hosts, army camp, those who encamp, company, body of people. That's before I
Okay.
get to the Strong's definition. If you let me know if you want me to say that.
That's good right here, bro.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It's going to say travelers or something like this, right?
Con.
All right. Thank you. So for some of us who've been in the military, right, we know what a company of soldiers looks like, right? And even if you haven't been in the military, we understand what that looks like. All you got to do is watch a movie on YouTube or on any other device, right? And you can look up what a company of anything looks like. So there was a whole army of Malakim along this path, right? And this becomes more significant as we move along through the story. So we're going to see what happens coming up into what's leading into this, right? So we have Jacob departing from one man who's been finessing him for the last 20 years, right? Basically free labor. I'm kind of paying you and I'm kind of not paying you. I'm kind of giving it to you and I'm kind of not giving it to you, right? So he leaves one situation, then he heads into a whole nother situation. For the last 20 years, he's been having an older brother who's been thinking about killing him, right? So he leaves one situation getting finessed into a whole nother one where he could possibly be killed along this route. So that in and of itself is I don't know how he held it together. And then not to mention, he's traveling with two wives who bicker back and forth about who's going to spend time with them, and it, like as we've seen in the previous chapters, right? So Yaakov has a lot on his mind right now, and we're going to see how he handles it because it's very important to see the the trajectory in which he goes from point A to point B to following Yah, right? So it seems like as soon as he gets a victory over one situation, then something else bigger pops up. And I know I can relate to this. Who else in this chat or out there can relate to something like similar to this?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
nobody?
that's life. Um,
Yeah.
like honestly, I think it was somebody had said when you look at what is it, the heart monitor machine, you know how, like when you're in the hospital and it monitors your heart and it's going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yep.
The EKG machine, I
There
think that's
you
what they
go.
call it.
That's what it's called. All
Uh,
Yep.
right. So when you see that, um, when it's just flat and it's not going anymore, what does that mean? You're dead, right?
Oh, you did. You out of
Right.
there, buddy. Yeah.
So, but then when you have life, it's what? It's up and down.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So yeah, I think that just speaks on life. If you're not living, if everything is just calm, you're not really living. Like there's that's not real life. Like that's not realistic in any aspect. Whatever type of pictures that people put out there on the gram, the book, the top, whatever, that's not really life. You know what I'm saying? You just see glimpses and pieces, but you don't really see the downs of what people go through unless they let you see it. But if you're living life yourself, you know that we go through ups and downs all the time. Even sometimes things that isn't wrong with us. Sometimes we make problems. We be like, "Hey, this is just so bad," but we're not really like looking on the outside. We're not really stepping on the outside and understanding like, hey, my life is pretty good. Like I'm making actually like a bigger deal than what it is.
Hmm.
Sometimes we just gotta. when you look at it, I mean, I can only think of, what he's going through is tough because I couldn't imagine having two wives, arguing back and forth, and then being able to, I have to make a journey. I couldn't even imagine a 10-minute drive like that because I've been in a car with, I grew up with women, so
Right.
I've been in a car where they arguing back and forth, and that tension in that car ride just from here to Whataburger was serious.
Sir.
I can only
Yes, sir.
imagine.
What was that movie forever? I forgot.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Saying a
Yes,
lot
sir.
of something.
Sound like,
And not
yeah.
to mention, not to mention, he had 11 children with him at the time.
Right.
Come on, bro.
It's pretty
So
tough.
hey, let's not, like I said before, let's break this down into reality. You know what I'm saying? There's a black and white which we can all read, but let's put some human nature behind this and what it means to have 11 little small individuals with each one of them have their own personality. Not to mention, like you said, like bro said, two wives, two more wives on top of that. They're not really speaking too much, but the first wives have a lot to say, right?
Probably hundreds of livestock because he
And
was really good.
and
A
so
bunch of
yeah,
servants,
yeah.
whole bunch of
So
livestock. So he's got to be like a manager and a CEO. You know what I'm saying? All while there's other stuff going on, man.
exactly, exactly. All right. Now remember, Yah came to Laban in a dream, right? And he put him in check. What do you say? Don't say nothing good and don't say nothing bad about Jacob, right? But we see that happening with Esau. Why do you suppose that we don't see that happening? That Yah is sending a representative to speak to Esau if Esau is a greater threat? Can anybody answer that question for me?
Would it be maybe he's not a threat anymore at the time, or they were destined to meet, sort of thing. And
Okay.
also, he himself is a descendant of Abraham, so I mean, I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it as well. Like he's not an outsider in the same way Laban is. Um,
Yeah.
and they'd be meeting for the first time in years, they already know each other and they come from the same house. So he might not do what Laban did towards, try to trick him into something like Laban did because they come from, similar, same backgrounds. So,
Okay.
or like I said, they were just destined to meet. It was supposed to happen.
I like that. Anyone else? Okay. Well, consider this, right? If Yah is always coddling you, like say you have a child, right? We have babies in our assemblies, but we won't let the baby fall. We won't let him skin his knee. We won't let that little fear happen to where what you have to depend on their daddy or their mama to come get him, right? Because we already know that, oh, he's gonna come get me. She's gonna come save me. She's gonna come give me my drink that I want. She's gonna turn the TV for me as I want, right? So there has to be a little bit of faith that is developed during this time frame. That's what I'm seeing, right? There has to be some kind of faith that's developing. So what better time to develop some faith than with your one of your greatest enemies, which happens to be your brother? You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately. Um, Secondly, I want to just put this out there, right? Why, if you just encountered what it said was an army of Yah's angels, right? A camp, a company of them, and you could see them. Why was he still fearful? This is a carnal man that he grew up with most of his life. Why is he more scared of what that man could do than what he just seen on the road to see his brother?
I'm gonna
To
land
me,
back
it
off
is.
what Ayana said. Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna back off what she said. Like it, it's yeah, better she's 17, right? Like he not only is of Abraham, but I mean, shoot, he's of Isaac.
Yeah.
Like I mean, literally, that's the Isaac was the promise. That was the promise came through him. So that you know, there is some level of like, well, okay, there's some angels here, but shoot, you know, the blessing came through Isaac. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, this dude is a skilled hunter. I mean, so skilled that like, you know, that it's almost unnatural, right? Like, so yeah, whatever. That's kind of just mindset. It's short and sweet, but that's just I'm just thinking about like this.
Augustine. So basically, he's not to be trifled with, as we say, as us older people say, right? He's not to be trifled with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see how Jacob decided to handle the situation. You know, running into his long lost brother-in-law. All right. So let's get to the next verse.
All right. Oh,
So this is part 2. All right. This is 32, 5 through 8. Let me get Ori.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis Bereshit 32, 5 through 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants. And I have sent to my Adonai that I may find grace in your sight. And the messengers returned to El Yaakov, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and also he comes to meet you, and 400 men with him. Dang. Then Yaakov was greatly afraid and
Yeah.
distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels into 2 bands, and said, if Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape.
That is interesting. Now, I'm going to take a survey. Okay. So the survey goes this way. How many of us say that was a well thought out plan and I could see myself doing something like that? Or who doesn't think that was the greatest plan for him to use?
On a carnal sense,
I'll let my military cats get that.
I say in a carnal sense, it was good, especially if he had like some maybe like flanking strategy, where like if when he broke them up into 2 bands, that maybe one was flanked to the east or or the west or whatever, and to where
Right.
if one did come under attack, the other could blindside Esau from the side. But if he was just splitting them up because like it was like some Scooby Doo or horror flick where we're just gonna split up in a dark house with no lights and hope that everything works out. Like I hope it wasn't that, but that probably what it was because he hadn't quite developed or honed his faith, I guess you could say, at this time.
Okay, I respect that. Anybody else?
I would say as a strategy, test the waters, split it up, send the first group in, see what happens, observe, and adapt when certain things changes, because always it's the unknown. You have he knows the reputation, but he does not for sure of what the capacity. So he's looking at in a sense that was pretty good, but again to test the water, see what happens. And you got your second team to go in and adapt, because again everything is always changing by the minute. So that's my view, my take.
So basically, he's sending like a reconnaissance, like Force Recon out there to see what's going on. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a question. Because I didn't hear the scripture that was read. Was this where he broke up the his camp into 4 different sections, and he sent like the maids and some of the children ahead? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, no, we
Yeah,
just 5
Oh,
through
we
8.
haven't got there yet.
yeah, we're on 5 through 8 right now. So he's devising his plan right now of
Uh-huh.
how he wants to go about this possible encounter with his brother. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at right now. So pretty
Okay.
much pretty much the question is the strategy and what he's developing right now is how much sense does that make? Are you for that strategy or against that strategy? Or is there a better strategy that he could be using right now?
No, when it comes to that kind of thing, I probably wouldn't have been able to come up with a strategy,
Mhm.
without, I guess he should have had faith in the more faith, but we just don't know what he was going through. I would just hate to be, if I didn't know, I wouldn't want to be a part of the first group, to find out what was going to happen.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to be the person that they're, you know, testing it out with. That's all. I would just hate to be part of the first group if I was the women. That's all.
That's a
don't
good
worry, nobody
answer.
wants to be part of the first wave.
Yeah. That's an
Nobody wants
interesting
that.
answer. That was like that's actually it's like the aspect of like, well, it's we're sidelining it right now. You know what I'm saying? At least I know that from the we're kind of like what they call them what chair quarterbacks or something like that. Like we're the
Yep.
people that see it. We're seeing it from a different angle because we're not in the game, right? Like,
Yes, sir.
like
Armchair
I'm gonna
quarterback.
put that.
Yep. Armchair quarterbacking right now. Like seriously, we are. And so we like you said, we have the luxury of looking back and reading and saying, hey, what would I do in this situation, right? But I believe the answer before what I would do in this situation is deal with one big elephant in the room. It's fear. You went into you're building a strategy based off fear, right? Based off of what could possibly happen to me. And I get it. You always have to take in you have to weigh the cost that scripture says, right? But he didn't tell you to go in there fearful. So he's making a strategy based off of fear, and so that will be the one. And I can't really criticize it because hey, I have the luxury of like being that armchair quarterback right now, right? Um, and the way that they departed, it's kind of crazy. So in hindsight, I would say before you conduct any kind of strategy, you have to go look into yourself and say, okay, what am I fearful about? How do I, how can this fear possibly damage the plan that I've created? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because we all know that there's positive and negative stressors that's always needed, right? So the positive stressors are you do need a little bit of some bits of anxiety because it keeps you on point, keeps you focused, keeps you locked in. But the problem with that is too much of that turns into anxiety and you start making mistakes and start doing things that you didn't really intend to do and saying things that you really didn't intend to say. So that's there's a fine line in how you handle the stress that's in your life and the fear that's in your life. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so then we see coming up, we see Yaakov do something that we all should learn from. He began to pray, right? So I'm gonna have Bro King go ahead and read the next verse. This is gonna be Genesis 32, 9 through 12.
All right. Okay. And Jacob says, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord was said unto me, return unto thy country, and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truths which thou hast showed unto thy servant, for with my staff I passed over this Jordan. And now I am become two hands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come to smite me and the mother with the children. And to 12, right? You said the 12?
To 12, yeah.
Okay. And thou sayest, I surely do thee good and make thy seed as the sand of the seas, which cannot be numbered for multitude.
Okay. All right. Now this is very interesting, right? At this point, Jacob decided to pull out the big gun. He called on Yah, right? From what he should have done in the very beginning, right? But it didn't take him that long to figure things out. So he called on the big gun. He called on Yah. And what do we all know about Yah? He says that his will not come back what?
Void.
Void. Exactly, right? And what are we to do with our fears?
Cast them away.
Cast them upon him, right? So at this point, we see Yaakov doing it, right? I mean, there's still fear, but he's looking to the one who saved him every time up until this point. And he made sure, if you look at verse 12, he made sure to remind Yah of that promise that he made him, right? And because Yah's word will not come back void, he knows he can stand on the promises of Yah. We can't necessarily do that with most people. Some people's word are like water. You know what I'm saying? You might have something to drink, you might not have anything to drink. Somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's very fickle. But with the Most High, we see his word is his word, and that's it. And at this point, Yaakov is looking at it like, okay, you said that my descendants are gonna be like this. How can this happen if my brother kills all of us? There is no way that can happen, Yah. You know what I'm saying? So now he's putting the onus back on Yah. Say, hey, I believe everything you said. Here's a situation going on. How do we handle this? Right? So what could have been a possible outcome for Jacob and his family if they didn't go to Yah in prayer? Because all of this, all we're reading is Jacob learning. It took him 20 years to get to one point, and now he's on to the next evolution of his life, right? So what if he just continued to operate in fear and not bow the knee to the Most High and pray, hey, Most High, you said you're going to do this for me and my family, and my descendants are going to be this. What if he just operated in fear? What would that have looked like?
He probably would have sent maybe a force to try to fight Esau himself.
Possibly could have put his family in even more danger, right? Not saying that the Most High wouldn't help him, but sometimes we end up getting in our own ways. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it seems like the promise that's made for our lives gets delayed. It wouldn't have been delayed if we hadn't put our own hands to it. If we had just trusted in the Most High and what He said He's going to do for us, get there and pray and ask Him for deliverance and ask Him to show me the way through this. The most horrible time in my life. I don't know what's going on right now. Show me. So the best thing he could do is he showed his family, he showed his sons, he showed everyone in his camp. When we're in trouble, what do? We pray. And some people look at prayer as like, oh, this is simple answer. All you're gonna do is pray. Yeah. Because Yah said his house is gonna be what?
A house of prayer.
Yeah, house,
House of prayer.
well, yeah, it's gonna be a house of prayer.
Plus, you're
Yes,
trying to
sir.
trust in his ways, man. You're trying to
Yeah.
trust in his direction, whatever it is he might give you in that instance. Now, of course, he still gives you a sound mind, right? I mean,
Right.
all praise to the Most High. But yeah, like in those times where it's like, hey, I got this sound mind, I have a strategy, but let me make sure I'm centered properly, right? I'm calibrated properly as I'm making these decisions. So I'm at least me, that's how I look at it. Cause I still think it's actually a good plan. That's crazy as that
Yeah.
sounds, but it's just
Yeah.
if it's not anointed, right? Like if there's not that level, at least if you're thinking of it being anointed, then it's like, well, is it me or is it, is it the Most High that's leading me? So
It brings me back to what coming back with fearful reports, you know, how can I do this? They're too big for us. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
The Most High is not rocking with that at all, right? So we understand how he feels about that, and that's what was leading me to think there's no judgment at all, because how would I have handled 11 children, um, two main wives, two more wives? You know what I'm saying? I just got what I deserve from this man over here. I'm headed back into the land, and there's another threat. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
and the thing is, Esau met him with what?
with
Esau met him with,
400.
there you
with
go.
a force.
So then what if you would have what if you would have taken 400 armed men and put them in front?
Mm,
What would that look like to Esau?
Yeah,
Let's
ready
go.
for battle.
So then
that would look like
that puts everybody at risk anyway. Either
exactly.
way you'd have went, it would have been, you know what I'm saying? It would have been so I get the aspect of, oh, hey, brother, how you doing? Like we've seen those movies
Yeah.
where, where you just playing it off like, hey man, it's good to see you, and you just make it seem like it's all love, right? It's not
Uh-huh.
like, well, like what are you doing with these people with guns and stuff like this? Like what's going on?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can get some of that strategy.
Yep. And I'm glad you said that, because that led to my next point, right? Look, Jacob had all this smoke for Laban, right? So after 20 years, he let him have it at the end, right? Until they tarried, and then Laban went on his way and everything, this and that. But he didn't necessarily have that energy for his brother. You know what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? Yeah, because this is a different type of threat. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, he did him
Laban
wrong.
is a user. This man is an abuser. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All right. So what we see that a lot nowadays, right? I mean, people are real careful in how they talk to certain people versus other people. Who they think they can get away with saying certain things in front of, and others they will not dare to say certain things. You know what I'm saying? And prime example for me, that was my mother, right? So the same stuff I'm saying to these guys on the street, you know what I'm saying? This person down the way, my vocabulary is gonna change as soon as I walk through that door. Or my vocabulary is gonna change as soon as my mama come walking through that school door. You know? So it every situation, it has to be handled for that situation. Because he did not have that same energy as he walked away, you know what I'm saying? Chest out, you know what I'm saying? Chest out, walking straight ahead, family follow me. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, no, 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 no. We can't handle bro like we did him. I grew up with this man right here. I know how he get down. I made it out here with my life. You feel me? So this is a different way we're gonna handle this thing. But one thing I've learned, right, is fear will definitely have you operating differently, very cautious, and a lot more mindful. So there is something to be said about that also. All right, let me get the next verse here. It's 13 through 16. That is part cuatro for all my Spanish speaking friends out here.
I get it. I get
All
part one.
right. Yeah.
Genesis 32, 13 through 16. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, and 20 he-goats, and 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their coats, 40 kine, and 10 bulls, and 20 she-donkeys, and 10 fowls. And he delivered them into the hands of his servant. Every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space between drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, oh, sorry, it was the 16. I apologize.
Yes, sir. It's all good. All right, now look at this. Now I'm with Yamazai on this one, bro. This is pretty slick. This is smart, right? This is after he called on the Most High. He's thinking very wise right here. I'm rocking with this, right? And at this point, he's sparing no expense and taking no chances on the safety of his family, which we can all learn from. You know what I'm saying? This is a very big lesson. So some of us are kind of like, you know, I got to do what I got to do, and some of us are not willing to sacrifice anything to prove points. If proving a point is going to jeopardize the safety of your family, that's a horrible point to prove. So at this point, I'm rocking with Jacob. He's bearing no expense, taking no chances, not just for his immediate family, but for everybody within his camp. Even though he had to send a scout team out there, it's not that he don't care about them, but it's like, hey, what is the priority? The priority is to make what Yah said come to fruition, right? So let's look at it from another perspective, right? So my question would be, would Esau be justified if he attempted any form of retribution at this point? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of pressure on Jacob's servants to do exactly what as they're told, but if Esau, he just lost his birthright, right? His brother escapes his grasp. I see this man after 20 years. Is he well within his right to feel some kind of way?
Man, if we talking about once again, we talking about back in them days. Now, of
Yeah,
course, in 2025, our Western mindsets, of course.
yeah,
Oh man, let's bygones be bygones, brother. It's the glory of a for a transgressor to pass over. You know what I mean? All
right,
praises.
right.
But back in them days,
Mm, nah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I want to say it's same thing. Respect. Back in them days, even today, respect goes a long way. So something like that, even though outside you're like, oh, I'm good, but inside it's just festering. So I just imagine.
Hmm.
I just imagine the controversy going inside of them of what if.
Yeah,
probably was dreaming about this thing.
yeah. Ooh, if I catch this, ooh, if I catch him. Oh, if he ever come into Sear, boy, I got him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so the question is like, is that a justifiable reaction for that individual in the situation he's in? And being like Amaziah said, hey, during that time, we see that often. Hey, eye for an eye, right? Tooth for a tooth. We all going blind out this mud. What we talking about? You know what I'm saying? There is no inheritance for you now. So he could have took that route, but by the grace of the Most High, that's not what happened, right? Like I said, there's a lot of pressure on a particular person, and that's the servant of Jacob, right? Because he's told to go out there and do exactly what he's told. If he doesn't do exactly what he's told, things could go left really fast. Who agrees with me on that point? Or is there another perspective on that?
No, I agree. Consequences are heavy.
Yeah, man.
That's why fear humbles you, makes you consider, okay, if I go this route, I'm gonna deal with this, but then I gotta deal with this at the end. And it's like,
Right.
The Most High humbles you. Be like, hold on, and especially if you follow his words and everything and his commandments. That's why, like you said earlier, put the fear, give it to him, give it to the Most High, because
Right.
fear will run you wild to a point that unless you do not fixate yourself onto one scenario, by the time you realize either you're done or you made a wrong choice, and now you got to deal with the consequence.
Right. It's true. And with that, Yaakov would have to pick a servant that he actually trusted to relay these messages and relay these things to his brother, right? So everybody knows when somebody moving out of fear and out of caution. So if I'm this servant of Yaakov and I'm being told, hey, go do this and make sure you tell him this and give him this, but I clearly see that you shook. It's very evident. What what does that look like for the servant? You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm like, oh man, he's nervous. He's very nervous. What am I walking into? Because I don't know Esau. I don't know. All I know is my master's telling me go over here. I've never met Esau a day in my life, but I see 400 men in front of me, and this man is clearly shook. So at this instance, I'm telling y'all, like I'm looking at all the players in these scriptures, man, even the servant. Like if I'm the servant going into this, oh man, hey, y'all say some prayers for me too, because I don't know what this man on right here. If my master's scared of him, I don't know what's going on. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. Let somebody has any comments on that.
I guess I don't know. This was like during a time where um like servants, like look at Leah and Rachel, is that her name? Rebecca servant? The
But
name
Leah
of
and
the other
Rachel, yeah.
wife, they're handmaids. They were able to give um them to Jacob as a wife, and as far as we're aware, they didn't really get a say about it. So, as somebody's servant, they, you're, I don't want to, let's see, it's not like, I don't know, you were expected to do what you were told. So even, of course, it's a scary thing, and they're human too. So obviously, they'd be scared. But I feel like it's just like one of them things where it's like, oh well, I was told to go do this, but this kind of, it's not ideal, this sort of thing. So I mean, that's just my thoughts on it, I guess.
That's good. Kind of like Yahusha, right?
Mm.
Like, I mean, it got to a point, he's like, hey, if this cup can pass me by, let it be so, but not my will, but thy will be done, right? So even as a servant, we still have emotions and feelings about a task that we have to get done and we have to see to fruition. And so you have good servants, you have bad servants in any situation. So he, Yaakov had a good servant. I'm going to listen to my master. I mean, he really had no option. Either go back to the master and say, no, I'm not doing this, or go over here to a possible threat. So it was a no-win situation for him, but he decided to be, what do you call that? You know what I'm saying? Obedient. Yeah. He decided to be obedient to his master and go do what he said to do. All right, let me catch verses 17 through 21. Rolling up on part 5.
You had some readers, but is this to anybody?
Yeah. Yeah, I had 2 readers, but I think they left me, man.
Right
You
here,
want to get it, bro?
I'm dealing with, I'm dealing with the
I
monster.
already know.
Yeah, you on the monitors now. You making sure the transitions is all right. All right, yeah, 17 through 21.
Yeah.
All right, and he commanded. I'm reading out the KJV too. I'm just gonna read it as it is.
Okay.
Verse 17, and he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee and asketh thee, saying, whose art thou, and whither thou goest, and who's these before thee? Who are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, they be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed with the droves, saying, on this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him, and say, moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me. And afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company.
All right. Thank you, sir. I got another question for y'all. This is a more personalized question, right? Who's ever had a parent tell them to go to the store, tell them to go to do a certain thing for them, right? But before you went, they gave you this long, detailed list. I'm talking about as a child now. They gave you this long, drawn out list of what they want from the store. Give me this, want this. Don't make sure they don't have this. Don't have no cheese in it, because my bowels be messed up. Make sure you ain't. You know what I'm saying? And you sitting there as a child like, I wish she'd hurry up and just tell me what she needs so I can get back to watching these cartoons. You understand what I'm saying? So, mind you, you have no pen or pad to write this down, so you trying to remember everything that your mama said. You don't ran to the store, came back, messed up half of what she said to do, right? In this instance, this is not a life or death thing. It's more of a you're gonna get your butt whooped more than likely. You're gonna get chastised, but this is not a life and death situation, right? But in the case of Yaakov and his family, this message that's been sent to his brother, depending on how Esau is feeling that day, could very quickly turn into a life or death situation with those 400 men that he has, right? So Esau is a very interesting character to me because he blows up at one point and then the next point he's just like, "Hey, bro, I'm cool. What's up? Come on over." You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, is he cool for real? Is this a trap? What's really going on? So I need you to go there and do exactly what I say and give him exactly what I told you to give him. Was there somebody had a question? Oh no, that's a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe the baby had a question. I don't know. All right,
Taking over.
taking over for the 9-9. All right, listen. Okay, so let's see what happens next. Okay, so let's bring out verses 22 through 28. One of my very studious readers, right quick.
I can get it out. Just let me get him situated. Okay. Okay. 22 through 28. All right.
My bad. I don't get out.
Rose up in that night and took his 2 women and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Yabok, and he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had, and Yaakov was left alone. and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Yaakov's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." And he said, "I will not let you go except you bless me." And he said unto him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Yaakov." And he said, "Your name shall be called no more Yaakov, but Yasharel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed."
Oh man, read that last verse again. Like y'all really pay attention to what's being said in that last verse. Can you read that last one more time?
No problem. And he said, "Your name shall be called no more Yaakov, but
Hmm.
Yasharel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed."
He said, "As a prince." That looked like a status change to me, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it. Okay, so we see Jacob do. He has some fight in him, right? Everybody but his brother, he got some fight. He got that dog in him, right? So it's amazing what kind of strength we have when we dealing with adversity. Jacob was not gonna let this Malachim go. You know, you're gonna bless me, and I'm gonna wrestle with you all night, as long as it takes. I'm not gonna let this go. So Jacob wrestled with this angel, and because he endured, he received a blessing and a new name, right? So that his status changed because he endured to the very end with that thing. Struggles come at a price sometimes. Like that struggle that he had with that Malachim took something from him physically. Sometimes we struggle with a lot of things in life, and even though we can make it through it, it it, it tends to take something away from us, and we have this permanent limp within our spirit. But that limp is not going to destroy us permanently, right? Just like Yahusha was saying, hey, it's better to go into the kingdom maimed, right, with one of your parts missing, right, than to cast your whole body into the fire. So as we going through our adversities in this life, it's okay. We're gonna take some L's, but you still breathing. You still woke up this morning. It's not over. You still got that dog and you still got that fight in you. But you got to know where your strength comes from. Yaakov knew where his strength comes from. Yaakov knew how to endure in that hand-to-hand combat. You know what I'm saying? We always look at Esau like he's the mighty hunter. He's the strong one. He can, he got 400 men. Look how powerful he is. But Yaakov was sitting there wrestling with a whole celestial being. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm gonna get mine. And he was bold enough to talk to the Most High, like, look, you promised me a certain thing. You promised my father and my grandfather a certain thing. So yes, sir. I'm trying to stand on business. I'm gonna need you to do the same thing, respectfully, right? So weigh the cost of what you're going through. If you can at all refrain from doing something that's gonna hurt you, refrain from it. But even if that thing that you're trying to accomplish causes just a little bit of pain, it's gonna take something from you, but it's well worth it because there's no reward without risk. You understand? There's no reward without risk.
God.
So if you're not willing to risk it all, are you really his? The Most High risked it all. He sent his only begotten son. At some point, you're gonna have to show and prove the same thing, right? Abraham did it. Yaakov did it. We I mean, we have no choice but to do the same thing. Okay, so let's get this final few verses, 29 through 32.
You got two more after this one though.
Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Let's see. So we in Genesis 32, 29 through 32. Anybody got it?
You got a Malek, otherwise I get it. All right. Better sheet 32:29.
Yeah, I'll get the last
Okay. All right. And Yaakov asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Yaakov called the name of that place Peniel, for I have seen Yah face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Penuel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. And therefore the children of Yasharel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Yaakov's thigh in the sinew that shrank.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Okay, so let's see what we learned from see what Jacob's learned so far. So we started off in fear. A little bit confusion. What are we gonna do? And see how we ended, right? So Jacob went into a situation fearful, came through victorious. A whole different victory a fight that he didn't know he was gonna have, right? And we see that relying on the promises of Yah brings salvation at the end of the day. So let's believe on Yah through the tough times. We got a lot of tough times that are going to be coming up. So I believe that this particular chapter is very relevant to what we have and what we're about to see going on in this particular dispensation. Because as you look around at the news, on the blogs, there's nothing but fearful comments. Can you believe this is happening? Can you believe this is happening? This many people died here. This many people died here. Oh, when's the next this going to happen? When's the next that going to happen? So people are operating out of fear. They're moving around in fear. You ever seen a chicken with his head cut off? It's just flat.
No, but the analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the muscle's still flapping, boy, but at some point, you know what I'm saying, you don't know where you're going because you have no head. But we have a head, and he has a direction for us. So it just makes sense to me to follow the direction of the head, right? Because your head literally has eyes to hear, to see, ears to hear, right? These things that are very pertinent in knowing which direction you're going to go. Because if you can't see where you're going, you can't hear the danger ahead or see the danger ahead, what are you walking into? You know what I'm saying? So let me get these last two verses. I'm gonna need Isaiah 62, 1 through 3, and Revelation 3 and 12.
I
I'll get.
wanted to speak a little bit on that
Oh,
last
okay, go ahead,
one.
bro. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah. As you uh as you saw, well, before the one that you had said before, when he had wrestled him, he pretty much wrestled him all night, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
to the day, to the breaking of the day. It's almost like where they say, like, you can wrestle in your dream. But he was sitting there in the spiritual world. Sometimes, like, I guess, when some people dream, they say they go to a different realm. That's why that people, like, sometimes say, like, the realm of sleep, different realms. But the one thing that
like people like to say is like, oh yeah, well, as you see where it talks about the pineal, and then they want to say, yeah, this place of the pineal gland in your mind, so he's wrestling him in his mind. How many people heard of that? I'm not the only one, probably. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I seen it there, and I was like, I'm with you, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't subscribe to that, but I was just saying that
Hmm.
I can see how people could easily get misplaced out of that. Um, I could see how what you were saying, where if we give up easily, especially for a fight that we're trying to have, or a goal that we're trying to meet. He had a goal. He wanted to get blessed. He wasn't leaving until he got blessed. So he was going to fight for that. And especially if he knew like, there's a chance that my brother, who I know that I did him wrong, what I'm saying? He knew that he, like, what he did was wrong, like, in his mind still. What I'm saying? Even though that he got blessed after that, he still felt like, yeah. And if I got done the way my brother got done, where he didn't really have the blessing, and I got his blessing in the way that I did it, yeah, I probably want to, kill me too, you know? Um, so I gotta get a blessing out of this. Like, you gotta tell me who you are. And I
Yeah.
can understand that part. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, so we going to Isaiah
Okay.
62.
Hold on. Let me. My bad. I didn't even go to. Let me go to the chat real quick before we hit the last one, bro. Let's see. We
Well,
got.
can I ask a question?
Oh yes, ma'am.
Well, it's not really a question. Well, it is a question, but I just wanted to know when you get to Revelations 3, can I read that one?
Oh yeah, sure can. Okay. All right, bro. Let's get that Isaiah 62 real quick.
We're going 62 and 1 through 3. For
Yeah.
Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest. Until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see the righteousness, and all the kings thy glory, and thou shalt be called a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Is
Mm.
that it? Oh no,
Yes,
3,
sir.
my bad.
3.
Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy God.
Yeah. A real diadem, right? Yeah, man. So we see this happening first, way in Genesis, right? So we're gonna earn these names. We're gonna earn everything that we go through, but it takes endurance, and you can only earn it through salvation. And who do we know is a representation of Yah's salvation? This,
Yahusha is literally in the name.
and there you have it, sir. All right. Sharman?
Okay. It's Revelations 12. Well, wait a minute. Revelations 3 and 12.
Yes.
It's him that overcomes will I make a pillar in the temple of my Elohim, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of Elohim, and the name of the city of my Elohim, which is renewed Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my Elohim, and I will write upon him my new name.
Thank you.
Of course.
That verse is so important because you're not enduring for no reason at all. You're enduring for the greatest purpose of all. So you'll never have to endure again. Right? And that's the goal. I don't have to endure any of this stuff again. I don't have to go outside and worry about, am I going to make it back inside? I don't have to worry about listening to false reports, slander, the most disgusting things that can be said on or off TV. I don't have to deal with any of these things anymore because I've endured. I fought the good fight. I have a new name. I know the name of the Father. I'm not guessing. Is it Yahuwah? Is it Yahweh? Is it Ahia? I don't have to guess these things anymore because I know. And what greater privilege than to know? Just like the Most High said, "You only have I known." So it's important that we say to him, "You only have I known." And with that,
Uh,
thank y'all.
yeah, hey, hold on. So you there? Y'all
Yes,
still
sir.
there? Okay,
Right, sir.
okay, okay. My bad, my bad. This is something that I saw that went back to what you were saying
Mm-hmm.
about like you said it was a change in his stature, right? So when he
Mm-hmm.
had got that new name, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then if you go back to Isaiah 62, I don't know where because I had to pull up diadem. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, I had to look it up too. It was like
Yeah, you did too?
Altricifer.
Okay, I thought it.
Altricifer.
Yeah, I
Christopher.
thought it was
Yep.
just me. You know what I'm saying? So I had to pull that up. And because it's not only that because he's talking about crowns, which we know normally see what who wears crowns, like kings and queens, or
Kings and queens. Yeah.
yeah, most of the time you see like the kings wear crowns in that time, and the queens would wear a head wrap or in some form it said mitri or hood. So it was like then therefore you become into like like kind of like a royalty priesthood or a royalty position now. You know what I'm saying? Because after your name gets changed, so when his name got changed, that's why he was like you were like a prince. So I saw that part and that kind of went together. So as our names change, we have to walk into that now we're no longer walking into the filthy rags that it was because when you look at royalty you don't see royalty walking, you see them as like a upper echelon, you know what I'm saying, like a higher stature as they're walking. And if we imagine like what our people would be like if we um I guess if we are walking examples of that, or if we think of ourselves as that, because I don't ever see people that are, or I don't ever hear about it where people are high up in royal statures where they're worried about like other people outside of their homes, rather than other kingdoms, but other people outside their homes. So they're not worried about like how Americans are living and what they're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
concerned about their what they have or what they don't have, because they can buy whatever they have like 100 times over. So that's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like the when you have royalty, royalty is different because what you concern more now is your culture and making sure that you're keeping your family in that culture and keeping them at a certain level to where you have them I would say like you would have them to make sure that they uphold the standard that has been established for you. So now
Right.
that's what has to be. I don't know, man. I'm just rambling, but that's what I see.
No, that makes a lot of sense, bro. It makes a lot of sense to me. And with you saying that, it brings me to Revelations 1 and 5, right? 1 and 5 through 6. And I'm gonna read that for y'all real quick, right? KJV, and from Yahusha, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten son, or the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and hath made us kings and priests unto Yah and his Father. To him be the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. So you're absolutely right. We're all supposed to be walking in this royalty, right? So unfortunately, we're walking around acting like peasants, to be honest. And I'll start with myself, right? So at what point are we going to stop acting like peasants and act our social status, which is kings and priests, and queens and priests also? So I agree with wholeheartedly with what you said right there, bro. Anybody have anything else?
No, I mean, not for me anyway. Like, but yeah, like that's a uh good analogy or interpretation. Is
Mm-hmm.
that the reason the whole of Israel is where we're at is because we've been acting like the base men that rule over us. We haven't been acting as the Most High intended us to be. So
Exactly. And this is why it's important. This is why it's important for them to stop us from knowing who we are. Because if you've been taught your whole life that you are a peasant, that you're not smart, that you're not good enough, you'll never be good enough. You'll never be anything, right? And you're the exact opposite of that. You're actually this prince, this king. Like Coming to America. Hakeem literally had to hide his identity, right? And go amongst the people. So we see the parallel between Coming to America and Yahusha coming to, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because Yahusha came for his bride, right? So we see some similar parallels with that, right? So why lower yourself to a status that you no longer have to be at when you know better? And that's something that I challenge all of us to try to fix within ourselves. And that's going to take work, and it's going to take time. And by no means am I saying that this change is gonna come overnight. And just remember, with that being said, a righteous king, a righteous queen, a righteous priest, right? Because we have tyrants all through this world. Don't be a tyrant in your home, and don't be a tyrant outside of your home, claiming royalty, because that's not the way a royal should act. You know what I'm saying? We're told how we should act and how we should present ourselves at the highest level, the highest standard. Anything below that, how did Brian Bosworth say it, is what? It's unacceptable. Some of y'all too
Yeah.
young to know who Brian Bosworth is, and I apologize for that. He's an old football player, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Like what?
Go ahead.
Lineman, right? Something like that.
hmm Yep. Anybody else have anything?
Oh man, I mean, this is good, bro. Like,
All right.
all praises, man.
That was
Yep.
kind of
You
short
see, I'm
and quick, y'all.
so I guess I'll
Can
stop
I
recording.
say
Oh
something?
wait, you got something, Ema? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was when you all were talking about this just a few minutes ago, came to mind, several things came to mind, but one thing came to mind, and I was thinking the same thing when I saw it. And I actually posted it. I think I posted it to Facebook. It was this Hebrew man that was wrestling, and he was wrestling with this white guy that had him outweighed him by twice, probably more than twice his weight. Dude was big, and the caption on the thing says, it said that this is impossible, what he did. Actually, what he did was he got himself out of a hole that this guy had him in. I'm talking about the Jake now. And he was underneath this guy, and it just looked like ain't no way he is going to get out of this hole. But somehow he did it. And everybody looking on was like astonished. They were like, wow. And before I even heard y'all talk, before, I kind of missed it because I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at something else, and I said, oh, we got a Zoom. But anyway, this morning when I was looking at that, that's what you all are talking about right now was first thing that came to my mind. I said, that is our struggle. That big, he had to be over 300 pounds. And this Jake, I bet, was probably not even 200 pounds.
Wow.
And it was like, we have had to struggle against the 300-pound guy for a long time.
Millennium.
But it looks impossible. But because he had, I think it said, if I read it correctly, it said that It was a maneuver that he had never tried before, he never done, but nobody had ever done before. And isn't that going to be our story? You know, the heathen will look and be astonished and say, this is he that we had in derision?
Yep.
But the thing is that what we had, we lost. And now the struggle, this is a struggle we must do to return. If you lose a royal position, it's not easy to get it back. I mean, if you've ever looked at any of these movies where, you know, the king or the prince is kidnapped, or the king is, something happens to the king and everybody, and then somebody steals the throne, and then the real prince has to struggle to get that throne. Nobody's going to hand that to you. And even with our position that we're in, it's the Most High's will that we struggle, because evidently we did not appreciate what we had. So now we got to struggle to get back what we had. And if I remember right, I think it's like in, I don't know whether it's in Ezra. I think it's in Ezra or in Baruch. I can't remember. It's in the Apocrypha. And it talks about this struggle that we have. And it talks about a narrow path. And on one side, there's raging water, and on the other side, there's consuming fire. But the struggle,
He said it's in where?
to get back. If anybody knows,
Is it not Ezra 7?
Ezra. Okay.
Yeah, it
I
is.
can't remember whether it's Ezra or Baruch, but it's Ezra, because Ezra was asking he was talking to the Most High, asking why all the struggle, all the that Israel was going through, and why did you make all these people to destroy them and all this kind of stuff. And it was explaining to him, well, you have to return back. And when you return back to this, it's a struggle. And that's one of the questions I always had when I was in Christianity. I said, well, if it's this easy, then anybody can make it to heaven.
Right.
All you gotta do is say some words. And I knew, it just kept bugging me that, man, I don't know if that's right. It's just like, it's just too easy, you know. And that struggle is there, and we have to struggle through these things. And when you're talking about fear, I think fear is mentioned over 300 times in the Bible. Do not fear not, or do not fear.
Okay.
And that's one thing we have to overcome is our own fear. And sometimes we can become overwhelmed with fear because of what we say and what we let ourselves hear. And it was just I don't know, if you go under my my Facebook page, you might see that wrestling match. It's
Okay,
really
I'm gonna check it out.
And that's the first thing that came to my mind was this morning, was the struggle of Jacob and the struggle of the Most High's people, our struggle.
And I like what you were saying about like a displaced royal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what we are. We're displaced royalty. So there's in every movie that you watch, or every every one of these instances, they always have to fight to get that position, like you said. So there's no difference in what we have to go through. And at the end, the same thing applies. We're gonna get a crown, right? So that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for that crown. Because what good is a king without a crown, right? So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to push past this
And
fear.
I always say, what good is the king without a struggle?
Mm,
Yeah.
If the king hasn't had a struggle, what kind of king is he gonna be?
mm,
I have a question.
mhm.
Did was was Jacob operating in wisdom, like the from what we know as far as in Proverbs and Sirach, where it says, wisdom is the fear of the Most High, and did the Most High grant him just like mercy because he knew his heart and his fear was because I feel like was his fear righteous, you know what I'm saying, towards Esau, or should he be more fearful of the Most High? Because it seemed like it was almost like a Moshe type situation. Like Moshe was fearful of what the people may say,
Right.
and the Most High had mercy on him and was like, don't be ignorant. I'm the one who's, you know,
Yeah.
given the deaf to be able to hear and the lame to be able to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Uh, you know what though? Remember that verse? There's a verse. I'm sorry, I remember stuff more than I remember where it is. I gotta get better at that. But it says a wise man sees danger and what flees.
Okay.
A fool basically will hang around and get a beat down. So it's not it's normal to feel fear.
Right.
Hmm.
But what the Most High doesn't like is that you don't face the fear and you make the fear your fear or what is in front of you bigger than him. So to say that we don't ever have fear, that's not. Yes, we do have fear, but we're still
Right.
to stand. He says, and when he says fear not, that he means stand.
Hmm.
because because we can't let fear become bigger than the Most High. So, and that's a hard thing to do, as we can just see a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, how fear caused many people to do something that they're now paying for with what's.
And it's flaring
And
up again.
yes, and if they trying to do it again. And uh it's many times that I've been afraid and I become ashamed. I become ashamed of myself when I'm afraid and I let fear stop me from doing something or from facing something. But the thing is that, you know, when I do face it, and like Jacob did, you know, he confronted the Most High and said, "You be with you told me that you were going." He had to. If you see this over and over in Scripture, where the person who's facing something, they always remind. They're not reminding, but I think they're more reminding themselves because the Most High doesn't forget His promises. But he said, you said that you was going to make, you know, uh, my my seed as numerous as the sand of the
Man,
sea. And uh that was also as a way of reinforcing that promise that he said, because he had to remind himself to the promises. He hadn't forgotten the promises that the Most High made. And evidently it works, because there's been lots of times where I've been in situations where I'm kind of afraid of things and what might happen, and this could happen, or I'm afraid I'm gonna lose this or lose that, and I'll pray, and say, you know what, yeah, you said you be with me, you never leave me. And it was more for me in my
Yep.
mind, because the Most High knows what he said. He didn't forget. But it's more for me. And you hear a lot of people say, we have to remind. No, you don't have to remind him, but he wants you to repeat that. What did he tell the children of Israel? Repeat this in your ears, in the ears of your children, so that it becomes a part of you. And in times where we feel most fearful, we need to repeat those promises uh, so that we can build up courage in ourselves, courage in him. It's not that Jacob was you know was all that brave, but it's just because he had his courage was in the Most High, and
Right.
that's what gave him the strength to go on, even though in the back of his mind he was still thinking his brother might come for him, but he still had more trust in the Most High than he did in himself. And um, one of the words I like to use instead of saying, Yah is our Elohim, and that helps me, is I say, Yah is my power. And he is my mighty one. That's a lot, we say Elohim, but it's, when you say he's my power, he's my mighty one, and then you have all of that in front or behind you, and then you feel more powerful, and that's just, what I was thinking when y'all said that.
That's good. I think that a lot of times we can, if we're not careful, we can allow fear to become our Elohim, right? Because there's a lot of instances where people are paralyzed by fear. They see this big animal, it's coming up, and the situation where you should run, your natural proclivity to run. You know what I'm saying? Because we have the fight or flight instinct still, and you get so afraid where you can't move, and at that point, that's when you've already lost, right? There's a verse in there that says, command ye me. And like when I saw that verse, I was like, command ye me? Like, what do you want from me? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a relationship that we have to realize that we have with the Most High, that we have to develop with the Most High. Um, what do you want from me? Tell me what you want from me. Most High, I want this. And then he says that when we ask, we have to have with nothing wavering, right? So don't be afraid to say, hey, Most High, you promised me this. You said if I'm faithful, this will happen, right? So I still have faith and I still believe when it's your time and when it's my time, these things will come to fruition. So at no point can you allow that type of fear to paralyze you to a point where it's now that's your God. That's what you believe in. You're scared to walk out your own house because you don't know what's going to happen. You're scared to get in the car because these people crazy out here. You never know what they're going to do. Like, and there's people like that to this day right now, who are paralyzed by fear and anxiety. I deal with anxiety myself, but one thing I've learned over these years is not to let it literally paralyze me to a point where I can't move. There are days that there's a bigger struggle than others, but it's still a fight that you have to go through. So for everybody who's dealing with anxiety and depression and all these things, um, there's another way out. So when that way out is through the Most High, that's the only way. There's not a pill that can save you. There there's nothing that can save you out of that type of you know overwhelming thing that your senses are just heightened and I don't know what's going on. And anybody who's ever had an anxiety attack, they understand, like, it's just this uncontrollable feeling of emotion that comes over you because you don't know how to control yourself. So at some point, you're going to have to say, if I can't control me, I know who can. I know who can ease my pain and ease my heart. So I'm going to depend on this source right here, the Most High power, Yahweh, right? So, and that's how I choose to deal with the things that I'm going through on a daily. And I encourage anyone who's dealing with these things to look at that also, because you don't want to be crippled by fear or crippled by anxiety, because you'll never walk straight. You'll never walk straight again if you allow these things to cripple you. So,
And you're correct, because like I can tell you this just from doing the lessons. Some days I kind of feel anxious or something like that, but when it's my turn to do the lesson, and I'm just going in order with the thing that we've been doing with the line by line series, and it'll be like, and there'll be some little nugget that I'll read, and it'll settle me down, and then I'll be able to elaborate on the lesson even more, like get it more, pull more out of it. And yeah, so it's like you're right, the words of the Most High, and what you got to do is read them, will calm you down, like, right, like people ask us, or people who might be still in Christianity, they might ask like, well, how can I use this Bible, this sword, to calm my ruach when things are a little turbulent. And the first step is start attending Shabbats. Like, that's the first step. Like, we say keep the law, statutes, and commandments, which you are supposed to do. It's clearly written in the book everywhere. But it's Shabbats. For those that are listening later when we upload this, you got to start at Shabbats. We can tell you everything, not everything. Well, when we get to that mastery, everything. But we can tell you whatever answer you're looking for, and we can even tell you where to go. But until you start developing that personal relationship with Yahuwah and His Son Yahusha through their word, uh, it's it won't come. You won't come to the understanding or overstanding of what we're talking about, for those of us that are doing our best to walk in this walk, because it's a personal relationship. There's only so much we can tell you. Like, we tell you to the best of our ability. We're 100% confident in Yahuwah's word, but it's still a personal relationship for those that are listening to this. And we encourage you, whether you're an Israelite that don't know who you are, or of a Gentile nation that would like to cleave, you got to start with Shabbats. Start with Shabbats and work your way out.
And if Shabbat is too much of an issue for you, you still searching that out. How many of y'all started off with stopping swine?
oh
Yeah, that was the first step for that. Even before
yes, sir.
Shabbats, it was just
Swine
stop
and
eating
shellfish.
and shellfish and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which should be an easy study for anybody listening. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't even be like, don't try to fight that, because it's too
Yeah.
easy. You can go back in our Rolodex. Even talking about just walk through it. Just walk through certain scriptures. It doesn't matter. Any argument that's there, just take your time, walk
There
through it.
are no scientific benefits from eating swine or shellfish. So
yeah, but you're right about that. That Sabbath, though, man. That Shabbat is major. So
Yeah, it is. Yes, sir. We operate off of faith, right? Not fear. We operate off of faith, and our faith is going to lead us to salvation. So that's the trajectory, the upward trajectory that we need to start trying to establish. And like both the brothers said, start very basic. Start with the Shabbat. Start with changing what you put into your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's at the very least, that's what you could do. And those things that you're told not to do, the scripture says it's not grievous. So there's no part of the commandments of Yah that are grievous. So for those who are saying, well, this is all done away with, we can do what we want to do, how has that went for you so far?
And
How
does
has
it
doing
apply
whatever
to
you want to
everything?
do?
Does it really apply to everything?
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, how has that? Yeah, does it apply to everything? And how has that worked for you?
Start
Doing
eating
whatever you
people
want
then.
to
Just
do.
start
Yeah,
eating folks, just say,
Yeah.
yeah. How many of your people got high blood pressure and diabetes and all this, and just so happen to eat pork and shrimp and stuff? I'm just saying, you know, not everything's for us. So, but these are decisions
And
that y'all have to make on your own.
and it says, do not eat these things so that you make yourself abominable
Mm.
to
To the
Yah.
most.
It's not, it may not be, abominable to men, but it's abominable to him. So if you just got up from a dinner of ribs and and the
Spare rib,
trim,
not beef rib. Yeah.
yeah, pork ribs and the trimmings, you are abominable to him.
Yep.
You're disgusting to him.
It's true.
And you got to think of
That's
it. I say one good way to think of it is like, imagine if you, for whatever reason, the Most High decided to invite you to the throne room of heaven for like a brief moment. Do you want to go in smelling like abominable animals, or having just finished doing abominable things, whether that be, sexually, immorally, whatever? Like, if you had that opportunity just to have a brief moment, just to see the splendor of heaven, he invited you directly to the throne room. Why would you want to be stinking of things he's clearly told us not to do? Like, it's not hidden in scripture.
Mhm.
Like,
I don't think anyone has ever seen buzzards when they're dining on whatever rotten carcass they're dining on, and people say, "Oh, look, they're eating." No, most everybody say, "Oh, look at those nasty buzzards."
Right, right.
It's disgusting.
And it's even used as a derogatory for for people, right? I
yeah.
mean, I'm showing my age a little bit, but you know what I'm saying? You used to call people disgusting buzzard, the old buzzard, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, buzzard.
it's never been a good thing, right? So, yeah, you have a very good point. It's on the side of the road, eating roadkill, you might as well eat that too. I mean,
Even even other animals don't like buzzards.
yeah,
You know,
right. Yeah. I don't know any other animal that you would feed swine to either. Does anybody else know, like, would you feed would you chop up pig and feed it to another animal? Like, I
no.
know
Nope.
they do it with dogs, but is that really good for your dog? Like, why do our
Nope.
dogs have all these health problems? Maybe because they're eating the
Dog
wrong
breeders,
stuff.
dog breeders actually say do not feed your dog raw pork. I
There you
mean,
have it.
we ain't supposed to feed them pork at all, but if
Raw
raw
pork,
pork will kill a dog because of
Yeah,
the worms in their
worms and parasites. Exactly.
parasite.
So you wouldn't feed any other animal on earth a pig, but you're gonna sit there and dig in. Like, that's weird to me. That's very weird.
Mhm.
Um,
Or you can even see just to now I grew up on a farm, so I know one of the most detestable places was the pig pen. It was nasty. That was a nasty place, the pig pen.
You can smell it for miles.
Mm-hmm.
yep.
I remember being in the country in Oklahoma. You wouldn't even see the pigs, but you could smell them
You could
for
smell them.
right away. As soon as you got on the edge of Spencer, you could start smelling the pigs. I'm glad people stopped raising them there, but whew,
And y'all have to be careful too, because I know in other countries like Germany, they use pig as fertilizer. You know what I'm saying? Pig dung
Mm-hmm.
as
oh, I didn't know
fertilizer.
that.
Yeah. So and it's in everything. So and when that whiff comes blowing through, and this whole entire area is a pig farm of pig manure. That is the worst smell that you can ever imagine in your life. So I'm with Emo on that one. I've actually smelled that, and I had to smell it for years. and
I
it's
know.
disgusting. You'll never get used to it.
Disgusting.
It's nasty. So
It's disgusting.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Anybody have anything else?
I don't. If you want to, Art, you can go ahead and read out the closing statements, and I'll stop the
All
recording.
right. All right. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and guard his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And that's Ecclesiastes 12:13-14. And here is the patience of the Kodashim. Here are they that guard the commandments of Yah, Yahuwah, and the belief of Yosha. Revelations 14:12. And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
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 Shalom, familia. Shalom.
Oh.